On the evening of January 31st, 2026, an 84-year-old woman named Nancy Guthrie walked through her front door for what would be the very last time. She had just spent a quiet evening having dinner and playing games with her family, a night that seemed as routine as any other. But hours later, Nancy vanished. No struggle heard by neighbors, no signs of a break-in, just a house that suddenly went cold. For weeks, the world has watched as investigators, the FBI, and Nancy's own family searched for answers. But now, Dr. Phil McGraw has stepped into the fray, and his analysis is shifting the entire perspective of this investigation. He isn't looking at the search parties. He is looking at the forensic red flags. Dr. Phil's review of this case begins where the evidence ends, at the front porch. He points to a critical inconsistency that has haunted the timeline since day one. Nancy was dropped off at 9:48 p.m. by her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni. By 9:50 p.m., the garage door was closed, and Nancy was presumably safe inside. But then, the timeline enters a dead zone, a 4-hour gap of total silence. Dr. Phil argues that in a typical abduction, there is noise, there is chaos, and there is a trace. Here we have a woman who is physically fragile, dependent on a pacemaker, and yet she disappeared without a single neighbor hearing a sound in one of the most affluent, quiet neighborhoods in Tucson. At 1:47 a.m., the digital heartbeat of the Guthrie home was flatlined. A masked and gloved individual reached up and disconnected the doorbell camera. Dr. Phil has focused intensely on this specific moment. He asks the question, why disconnect the camera? If the goal was a quick snatch and grab, why wait 4 hours after she arrived home? And more importantly, why did the intruder seem to know exactly where the camera was located in the pitch black? According to Dr. Phil, this suggests a level of familiarity with the property that goes beyond a random predator. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was a surgical extraction. Before we get into the most disturbing discovery found on that porch, I want to take a second to welcome you. If you're new to the channel and you appreciate deep dives into the cases that the mainstream media often misses, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We are a community of truth seekers. And your support helps us keep these stories alive. If you find this analysis helpful, please like and share this video. The more people who see this, the more pressure is put on the right places to find the truth for Nancy. Now, let's get back to the evidence that Dr. Phil says makes no sense. When the sun rose on February 1st, investigators didn't just find a missing person. They found a crime scene. The blood splatter was discovered right at the entrance. DNA that was later confirmed to be Nancy's. But here is the red flag Dr. Phil highlighted. If there was enough violence to leave a trail of blood, why was Nancy's pacemaker still connected to her app until 2:28 a.m.? That is nearly 40 minutes after the camera was cut. Dr. Phil argues that this gap between the camera being disabled and the pacemaker finally going silent is the key to everything. It suggests that Nancy was still alive and possibly still inside that house while the kidnapper was present. This wasn't a struggle. It was a countdown. At 1:47 a.m., the silence of the Catalina foothills was broken by a shadow. This is the footage that has kept investigators and Dr. Phil awake at night. A male, approximately 5 feet 9 inches, wearing a ski mask and gloves, didn't just walk up to Nancy's door. He approached it with a chilling level of confidence. Dr. Phil points out a detail most people missed: the backpack. He wasn't traveling light. He was carrying an Ozark Trail hiker pack a specific 25-liter model that suggests he was prepared for a trek, or perhaps for carrying specific tools. But it's what happens next that defies logic. Instead of just smashing the camera, he tries to block its view with a plant he ripped from Nancy's own yard. It's a strange, almost frantic attempt to remain hidden after he was already caught on a digital cloud. There is a glint in the footage, a small metallic reflection on the suspect's finger. Sheriff Chris Nanos has confirmed that investigators are looking into whether this is a ring. Dr. Phil has spent decades analyzing the psychology of criminals, and he notes that trophies or personal identifiers, like rings, are rarely worn by professional hitmen or high-level kidnappers. This looks personal. Then, there is the backward walk. Neighbors reported seeing a figure moving away from the house by walking backward, a tactic often used to confuse trackers, or to keep a face toward a camera that may still be recording. Dr. Phil asks, who is this person trying so hard to hide from? Is it the police, or is it someone who might recognize their gait? On February 7th, the investigation took a sharp turn. A car was towed from the property and processed under a federal search warrant. While the family was officially cleared of suspicion on February 18th, the forensic processing of that vehicle tells us that the FBI was looking for more than just a missing woman. They were looking for a transfer of evidence. Dr. Phil highlights the missing 48 minutes. There is a window between the camera being ripped out and the final signal from Nancy's pacemaker that remains a black hole. If she was taken in that car, why was her heart still beating inside the house for nearly an hour after the kidnapper arrived? This suggests a terrifying possibility, that the intruder and Nancy were not alone in those final moments. This case is moving faster than the headlines can keep up with. If you want to stay informed on the latest forensic updates and Dr. Phil's ongoing analysis, please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We are seeing a massive surge in interest, and by liking and sharing this video, you help keep Nancy's face in front of the people who might have that one missing piece of the puzzle. Every share is a potential lead. We are all hoping for a miracle for the Guthrie family, and your engagement ensures this case doesn't go cold. Now, let's look at the most confusing piece of evidence yet: the blue shirt and the ransom notes. 2 days into the search, a bright blue shirt was found near the blood drops on Nancy's front steps. That it appeared as if it had been dropped in haste. But even more bizarre are the emails sent to local news stations. While a California man has since been charged with sending a fake ransom demand for Bitcoin, the FBI is still reviewing other messages that haven't been debunked. Dr. Phil's take? He says the noise in this case, the fake notes, the planted clothing, is designed to distract from the truth. Someone is trying very hard to make this look like a Hollywood kidnapping, but the forensic evidence points to a much more intimate tragedy. At 2:28 a.m., while the rest of the Tucson neighborhood slept, a tiny device inside Nancy Guthrie's chest sent out one final, desperate ping. This wasn't just a medical event. It was a digital witness. Dr. Phil points to this moment as the most chilling forensic landmark in the entire case. You see, Nancy didn't just have a pacemaker. She had a modern, smart sync device that communicated with her phone every few minutes. It's when that signal vanished at 2:28 a.m. It meant one of two things. Either the device had been physically damaged, or Nancy was moved so far away from her phone that the Bluetooth tether snapped. This happened exactly 41 minutes after the doorbell camera was disabled. But the data from those final minutes revealed something even more haunting. experts reviewing the logs noticed a significant spike in Nancy's heart rate just before the signal cut out. What a lead cardiologist stated that this kind of surge is consistent with an intense physical struggle or extreme emotional terror. Dr. Phil argues that this heart rate spike confirms Nancy was conscious and aware of the threat. She wasn't taken in her sleep. She was fighting. And yet, despite this high-intensity moment occurring inside or just outside her home, no one heard a scream. No one called 911. This suggests the intruder was able to maintain total control, likely through physical force or the threat of a weapon. We are coming up on the 1-month mark since Nancy disappeared, and the family is now offering a staggering $1 million reward for her return. Investigators are now poring over thousands of hours of neighborhood footage, and one specific vehicle has caught their eye. A white sedan spotted cruising the area around 2:30 a.m., just minutes after Nancy's pacemaker went silent. Doctor. See, Phil has raised a critical question about this vehicle's path. It didn't head toward the freeway. It stayed on the back roads, moving with a familiarity that suggests the driver knew the blind spots of the local law enforcement patrols. This car is currently a primary focus of the FBI, who are trying to determine if it was a scout vehicle or the actual transport used to move Nancy from her home. As the trail grew warm, the search expanded to the air. The authorities have deployed signal sniffers mounted on helicopters, high-tech tools capable of detecting the low-frequency pings from medical devices like pacemakers. They are scanning the vast Tucson desert, looking for that one digital heartbeat in a sea of silence. But as Dr. Phil notes, every hour that passes makes the red flags harder to ignore. If this was a ransom kidnapping, why hasn't there been a single verified proof of life? The clock isn't just ticking for Nancy, it's running out. On February 12th, the search took a physical turn when a volunteer spotted something that didn't belong in the pristine desert landscape. A single black nitrile glove was found snagged on a Palo Verde tree in a wash miles away from the Guthrie residence. Dr. Phil has highlighted this find as a potential behavioral leak. Professional kidnappers don't usually discard evidence so haphazardly. He suggests that this could be a sign of mounting panic. When the forensic lab returned the results, the tension spiked. The glove contained a mixture of DNA. One profile belonged to Nancy Guthrie, but the other was an unidentified male that did not match anyone currently in the national database. This discovery led the FBI to pivot to a powerful new tool: investigative genetic genealogy, or IgG. This is the same technology used to catch the Golden State Killer. By uploading the unknown male profile to public genealogy sites, investigators are now working backward to find the suspect's relatives. Dr. Phil notes that this move indicates the police are no longer just looking for Nancy. They are hunting a specific individual who likely has no criminal record. This ghost suspect is the person Dr. Phil believes holds the key to the entire mystery. If this person wasn't on the police's radar before, they certainly are now. One of the most technical red flags, Doctor, Phil has discussed is the pocket bulge seen on the masked man in the Ring footage. Some digital forensic experts believe the intruder was carrying a portable signal jammer. This would explain why Nancy's high-tech security system didn't alert the authorities the moment the door was opened. However, Dr. Phil points out a flaw in this. If he had a jammer, why did the pacemaker still sync for nearly an hour? This discrepancy suggests that the intruder knew how to bypass the home's Wi-Fi, but was completely unaware of the independent cellular or Bluetooth sync of Nancy's medical device. It's a mix of high-tech planning and a fatal lack of knowledge about the victim's personal health tech. As we look at the timeline, another chilling fact emerges. There were no signs of a struggle inside the master bedroom. No overturned lamps, no ruffled rugs. It was as if Nancy was escorted out. Doctor. Phil asks, how do you get an 84-year-old woman to walk out into the night without a fight? You either convince her you are someone she can trust, or you use a level of intimidation that leaves her paralyzed. The lack of chaos inside the home is perhaps the loudest piece of evidence we have. As the investigation enters its second month, the quiet halls of justice are beginning to hum with activity. Rumors have surfaced regarding a grand jury being impaneled to look at specific testimonies in the Guthrie case. While the sheriff's department remains tight-lipped, Dr. Phil points out that this move usually happens when investigators have the who, but they are still cementing the how. He notes that in high-profile disappearances, the transition from a search and rescue mission to a grand jury proceeding is a massive shift in momentum. It means the authorities are no longer just looking for Nancy in the desert. They are looking for the truth in the records. Dr. Phil's final review of the evidence leads back to a motive that is as old as time. He asks us to look away from the masked man for a moment and look at the paper trail. In his analysis, he mentions that the complexity of the kidnapping narrative, the signal jammers, the backward walking, with the fake ransom notes, often serves as stagecraft to mask a much simpler motivation. He highlights the Guthrie family's significant estate and asks if anyone had a reason to want Nancy's independent control of her life to end. The lack of a ransom demand that actually led to a meeting point is, in his words, the loudest silence in the room. If the goal wasn't money from the family, perhaps the goal was the family's money itself. We are reaching the end of our deep dive today. But for the Guthrie family, the nightmare has no end in sight. If you've stayed with us this long, you are clearly as committed to finding the truth as we are. Before we reveal Dr. Phil's closing statement on the case, please make sure you have subscribed to the channel. We will be here every week with updates as the grand jury moves forward. Please take 1 second to like this video and share it. But we need to reach that one person in Tucson who saw that white sedan or who knows the man with the Ozark pack. Your share could be the catalyst for the breakthrough Nancy deserves. Let's make sure her name stays at the top of every feed. In his final analysis, Dr. Phil didn't mince words. He stated that the truth of what happened to Nancy Guthrie is already known by someone who has been interviewed. He believes the forensic evidence, the pacemaker data, and the DNA on that glove will eventually collide with the stories being told to investigators. His theory? That this was a multi-person effort designed to look like a random act of violence, but it lacked the professional execution to stay hidden forever. The man who walked backward may have thought he was being clever. But in the age of digital forensic footprints, there is no such thing as a perfect disappearance. Nancy Guthrie is a mother, a grandmother, and a pillar of her community. She deserves to be found, and those responsible deserve to face the light of day. As the FBI continues to process the IgG results from that mystery glove, the net is tightening. We will be here, watching and reporting, until the silence is finally broken. Thank you for watching, for sharing, and for helping us seek justice. We'll see you in the next investigation.